There it is. What's up, y'all? John Melton coming to you live with another episode of Money Monday, and I am excited to have this friggin' rock star on with us today, my friend Meghan, who we've been connected for quite some time now, and I've said to her a couple of times, like, I really want to get you on my show, and here we go. She's on the show. She's here. She's ready. And just for those of you that don't know Meghan, her and I are not in the same company, but she's in network marketing, obviously, right? In the same profession. And she's done such an amazing job with not Facebook, not TikTok, but Instagram. And, it's interesting because, where we focus, right? Where we put our energy, where we put our time, we put our efforts, that's what's going to grow, right? So if you're focused on Facebook, Facebook's going to grow. If you're focused on TikTok, TikTok's going to grow. If you're focused on Instagram, you fill in the blank. I think you know where I'm going with this. And Meghan has built a following of like 69, 70,000 followers on IG. She's recruited over 1,000 people, not just selling product, literally enrolled over 1,000 people in the last 3.5 years, leveraging Instagram. So for those of you that like Instagram, you want to use Instagram a little more, or maybe you just want to just learn the latest and greatest strategies. You want to kind of understand it a little more. This will be a great conversation. But before we get into the tactics, before we get into some of the training, I want you to start off, Meghan, just introducing yourself to everyone, sharing a little bit about your story, your background, maybe a little bit about your journey, just so people can really relate to you and understand kind of where you came from. And then we'll get into the goods. So thank you for being here, by the way.
Thank you for having me. I have been like super fan of you guys for years and years. I religiously listen to the podcast, watch your, stuff on Facebook, everywhere. So it's a huge honor for me to be here. So a little bit about me. My name is Meghan. I live in Massachusetts, super small town. So for those of you that live in these small little towns and they're like, I don't know that many people, like, I promise you that is just an excuse you're telling yourself to not be successful, because there is no reason that you can't be successful no matter where you live. So I started about 3.5 years ago with just products. I was just looking for, something to feel better. And that kind of turned into this business. So before then, I was a special ed teacher, and I have 3 kids. So my middle son is special ed, like learning disabilities. And so that's why I kind of went down that avenue of teaching and hated it. I hated not teaching. I love the kids. I love teaching, but like working for somebody else and their rules and their things, I was just like not vibing with that. I'm kind of a strong personality when it comes to things, and I like to do things the way I want to do them.
Can anyone else relate to this? Like amen, smash that heart button. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I am stubborn, I guess, if you want to call it that. But so when I had my 3rd child, I was like, I'm done working. I'm done teaching. I'm going to figure out my own way to make money. So I have a spray tan business. I had an Etsy shop. I was doing, farmhouse style signs when that was like cool, like 6-7 years ago, like Hobby Lobby stuff. I had an Etsy shop, and that's why I started my Instagram, was to promote those products. So that's why Instagram, that's when I started getting a following on Instagram. I was selling stuff on there. I was promoting my business, my little Etsy business on there, which led me to do content creating for like DIY projects. Companies would reach out to me to do their paint or do a project wood floors and show stuff like that, like blog about it. And they would pay me to do that. And so I was like, this is going to be the best life ever. I get paid $300 to do this like 10-hour project. And then these kind of products came into my life, and my friend is like, why are you not monetizing this instead of working your butt off to redo like every angle of your house over and over and over again to try to just like keep bringing in income? And she's like, this is a whole other way that you can bring in money and work like half as hard as you were working before. I don't know if you guys have done like the whole influencer thing on Instagram or social media, but my one post that looks like really pretty and it looks like I just kind of like threw a room together super fast, like that's months of contracts back and forth. That's, this idea and this angle and this angle, and the company coming back being like, I don't like that angle, or you didn't show the image good enough, so go do it all. And so that one image or one video looks like it took me 2 minutes, but it was actually months of work for a one-time payment. So when I started learning about how our industry works a little bit more, I thought I would take advantage of the income that can come from this and kind of just like going on with this, seeing what could happen if I started talking about this, started sharing things, talking about what I do, and it kind of streamlined from there. So within 6 months of posting about this for the first time, like I was making money. I, had that car paid for. I had those big luxury trips, and then it's kind of just grown from there.
That's awesome. And then how long did it take for you to say yes? Like, how much did your friend, you said, how many times did they have to like reach out, or how many times did they have to talk to you about it? Or were you just like a red apple? You were like, let's go. I like it.
No, it had to be like a year of like multiple friends of mine that were doing this, that were like, just come do this. You'd be so good at this. Come try this. See what can happen here. And I was like, I am a home decor Instagram account. I cannot post anything besides paint and furniture and things like that. And then once that switched and my mindset kind of changed with things.
How did your mindset change? What was it that like flipped that switch?
It was the first picture. I started feeling good. I posted a picture of myself and I had like 600 people comment on it being like, what are you doing? Tell me more. Like, I was like, okay, like maybe this is what my people want to see more of. This is what my followers want to see more of.
It does help when you have results, because at the end of the day, the before and after picture, I was here and now I'm there. It's like, wait a second. I know you and I trust you. It's not an infomercial, because you're that person. You're like, I can't trust that. But when it's someone you know, and this is why we teach people about building a brand. And sometimes they think, oh, like, do I need to build a fitness brand? Do I need to build a brand around like, kind of my product? And listen, that can work if that is something you have knowledge and expertise in. It's a passion. But Meghan didn't have a expertise or background. She was doing, DIY, right? It's like she's doing something completely, has nothing to do with it, completely different. But because they built up that credibility, right? She built up that following. They were open when she had something to share. And this is why it's so important for you to be you on social media. You show up in the biggest way possible. Be the boldest, loudest, proudest version of yourself, sharing your story, sharing something that you can, talk about all day, because then it comes naturally. And I think sometimes people see leaders like me as an example, and they're like, well, I'm not a network marketing expert, so I can't teach network marketing, or and you might be right, but you got to figure out, like, what are you an expert in, or what do you love talking about? And by the way, you could also learn things. This is something I learned years ago from Ray Higdon, right? ILT, invest, learn, teach. Invest time into learning something and turn around and teach it. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. But I think this is just a testament of, you don't have to have that type of background or expertise, but you can still crush it because you got results. Now, I guess my question would be, because that was years ago, what's working today? Let's pivot into, what do you see? What are some examples of things that work today when it comes to Instagram? Because Instagram is a little bit of a different beast than Facebook and TikTok.
Yeah, it totally is. And it's always changing. So like what was working for me then is different from what's working for me now. And what's working for me now is going to be different in a week from now, because that's how Instagram rolls. And that's just the way it is. But like you were just saying, the trust and building that trust with your following is so important, because once you build that trust, and this is years of like me showing my face on stories, talking to them, like getting my followers to know me more, saying like, this is what I'm doing today, or this is what I'm dealing with now, like talking about points in my life and maybe struggles that are going on in my life, or just talking about like what I got at Trader Joe's that day, like building that trust. When you start doing that, these people feel like, even though they live across the country, they know you, like they know who you are. They're like some weird friends with you, like even though you've never met. So when you start talking about something that's new or different, they believe what you say, because they've been listening to you for so long talk about like whatever it is under the sun.
Yeah.
So that is something that has maintained like truth in Instagram growth forever. Like it doesn't matter if it was 8 years ago, 7 years ago to now, building that trust with your following is so huge. Something else that's working now is just staying consistent. And these are like very basic things that I'm talking about here, but daily stories, like getting on your stories every day and talking, like I just said, or posting frequently. Make sure when you're posting, if you guys are not getting attention on your posts, make sure you're not posting at like 10:30 a.m. when everybody's already at work, or they're already, they've already gotten into their day, or it's 2 p.m. and they're running all over town to pick up their kids and drive them everywhere. Like, think before you post of when am I on social media most? It's going to be morning when I get up, because I always post at the same exact time every day. Or
you do?
Sorry?
Same exact time every morning?
Oh, sorry, you're cutting out a little bit. Or am I cutting out?
No, you sound good. I was just asking, so you post at the same time every morning. What time?
I post at 7:45 Eastern every morning.
Wow, very cool.
It's a really convenient time when all my children are running around trying to get ready for school. It's like, it's not convenient at all, but that's life, and that's the way it is.
Now, when you post at 7:45,
I post
do you just post like a screenshot of, or a picture of something, or are you like talking into the camera? I know this is a little bit more, like very specific, but I'd be curious to hear, since you're so specific on the time, do you have a specific thing that you do every morning at 7:45?
So that'll be either my reel or my post. It'll be up at 7:45, but I am doing like engagement before and after that. So I'm like talking to people before, I'm showing stories before, I'm engaging on other people's posts and stuff that have posted recently. I'm going to specific hashtags that are like, if my reel is about going to Mexico last week, like I'm talking to hashtag vacation parents or Mexico trips or things like that, where people will come to my page and relate to what I just posted because they were posting about it recently too. So then I'm engaging on their stuff. Then I post, and then they come back and they're like, Instagram is this big community and you get rewarded for, actually communicating with other people. And then they come and comment on my stuff, and then there's new followers.
Love that. Isn't it amazing though, like how to you this is so basic, and some people are like, oh yeah, I guess I should focus on that law of reciprocity, where it's like, I'm giving what I want to get. Like, makes sense. If I want to get more engagement, more followers, I want more people to pay attention to me, I should probably give attention. I can't just post and pray, post and ghost. I just did a video about this the other day. So I love that. And then, are you batch creating your content?
I don't, because, where'd you go?
Yeah, that happens with the Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good. You're back.
Okay. If I do, it's like maybe 1 or 2 for a week, but I find that if I'm doing like batching content and stuff, I don't feel like it's as authentic as I want it to be. So if I'm doing specific videos on like tips or things like that, I'll do those and then space them out, within weeks down the road. But if it's just stuff that's on my mind, it's usually like the night before that I'm throwing it together, or that morning when it's like, okay, this is a great idea, or I saw something that was a pain point for somebody, so now I'm going to post about it and get that attention.
I love that. And do you have kind of a method behind it? Like, do you try to like keep them to 60 seconds? Do you post a certain amount of times per day? Do you do like the reel in the morning and the, static post during like later in the day? Like, I'd be curious about some of that too.
I usually post once a day at that morning time. And I don't feel like posting more. It depends on who you ask. Some people, they post more and more and more and they get more engagement out of it. Sometimes if I post 2 and 3 reels in one day, people are like, I've seen enough of you. You're not interesting to me anymore. So it's like, it depends on the day too. Like sometimes people love it. Sometimes people don't love it. So I try to stay consistent with that. But what you had just said, what was the first part of your question just there?
Just with if you have like kind of a method to it, like, okay, I'm going to do reels like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or is it just always a reel? Is it a static post? I'd be curious about.
So usually I try to do what's working for Instagram. Like reels are really, really working right now. Yeah. This is what I was going to say. This is what I was thinking. The short reels are what's working right now. The like 10 seconds or less. And so people's attention span right now is 8 seconds. Like that is the attention span. It's gone down from in the year 2000, it was 12 seconds. Now it's 8. The trend of what's going to happen. It's going to be less and less and less because things like TikTok and YouTube shorts or whatever they're called. My kids are obsessed with those. The attention span is just getting shorter and shorter. So if you do not hook somebody quickly with your reel or your post, whether that's in the comments or in the reel, they've already gone by you and they're already scrolling by you. So like if you have about 2.5 seconds or something, I think is the statistic, to either hook them or they're gone and in your reel. So you either have to make it like a interesting, quick little couple words where they'll go and read the caption, or you catch their attention because your reel is funny or informative. But the long ones and like the 8-hour long posts that you have to read through, like people are over that. People don't have the time to do it. They don't want to do it. They like the quick, short information.
Now, are you doing a lot of like selling in your posts, or is it just in your stories?
I do a lot of curiosity marketing reels. That's where my a lot of my sales come from. A lot of the time I'll do reels and then I'm like, hey, check out in stories, or I'll post in stories saying, hey, check out the reel that I did, because you're going to get two different audiences by saying, like, I've got a lot of people that just watch my stories, and then I've got a lot of people that just see my stuff on my feed. And so by like kind of connecting the two, you get both audiences to go to the other place.
Yeah, it is funny because it is a lot of times it's a different deal. Like I know when I'm looking through stories, I'm just seeing stories. When I'm on reels, I'm on reels. You don't kind of go back and forth a whole lot, right? They're doing one or the other when you're doing it. So a lot of your curiosity reels are product focused or business?
I try to keep it even. I try to space it out with one or the other. I think, you know, I don't want to be like shoving product down people's throats 5 times a day in reels and reels and reels, because then they know that that's all they're going to get on my page. So I try to get, you know, I'll post a product curiosity post, and then I'll post business one, and then I'll post, you know, my projects around the house type of reel. And so it keeps like all the different audiences happy.
Yeah. No, it is funny though, because people think like, do I lead with the product, lead with the business? I'm like, you know, you can do both. Like you can talk about both things. Like you're more than just one. Now I know some platforms, like recently we've had a lot of TikTok, you know, trainers coming into our group and, you know, interviewing, and they're like, you got to focus on one thing. And I think that's true, right? It depends on the platform, right? YouTube Shorts is a little different than Facebook Reels, and Instagram Reels are a little bit different than TikTok. Like they all kind of have their own, you know, method to the madness, if you will. And I think everybody needs to figure out what works for them. But the way, Meghan, you figured it out is by doing it, right? By showing up, testing out different conversations. And it shows that you don't have to just talk about one thing. Now, that might not work for the next person. It all depends. You have to test it out. But I love that you do some product stuff, you do some travel stuff, some business stuff, DIY stuff. I think that's really cool. And then how much are you posting in your stories? Do you have a method to that, or you just kind of depends on the day?
I know that I'm talking on stories every single day. Like I'm getting on there. It doesn't matter if it's 1 slide or 20 slides. I feel like most people get the most action on their stories if your first story of the day has like a call to action. So if you're posting like, hey guys, like what's your favorite product at the grocery store? And they can comment in the little box, or they can slide the bar. Like your story views will go way up if you have that in the first story of the day. So just showing your face in there every single day. It doesn't really matter what you're talking about. And there's those days where if I'm posting on my feed, whether it's a reel or a static post, that's when I'm in stories being like, hey, if you didn't see that, go check it out. But if you want more information, here it is also, type of thing. And just connect the two.
And then how proactive are you with like connecting, like, you know, reaching out to people, new followers, people that comment? Are you like messaging people or only kind of just responding? So when I get new followers, I just started doing this actually because I think it's really important to build community again. Is every new follower a message in that messaging? Oh my gosh. If, you know, just saying like, hey, thanks for following me. I appreciate you. Can't wait to, you know, hope my content is what you're looking for, or hope it's interesting to you, or I can't wait to know more about you. I followed you back type of stuff. Just getting them in those small conversations, not only is that gonna make you become like friends, but your stuff pops up more in their algorithm if you're having conversations with them. So it's super, super important to just take the time to do that. I know it's a little time consuming, but we're in network marketing, so we have to network. Like that's the part of it. What a concept.
I know, it's bizarre. It's bizarre.
Do you follow back every person?
I don't follow back every person. I follow back accounts that seem like they'd be good at what we do, I guess.
No, I got you. I'm on the same page. You know, sometimes you're like, that's weird. I'm not gonna. Yeah, I might not even message that person. But when you see someone like, yeah, or it seems like you know, just like there's, I mean, we can all think of like some profiles where you're like, is this even a person? Like, it's just like, it's like a strange username and all that. But yeah, like if you get a follower and you see like, wow, they got a decent following. Like I still today will send out audio clips. I'll send personal messages, like you said, like, hey, thanks for the follow. And, you know, you don't need to have, and I know some people like to have like a copy and paste type message. Some people even use like automation tools. And I think that's great, especially as you build up a bigger following. But that personal touch, you know, that reach out, that message, you know, hey, I appreciate you. Maybe you engage in their stories. My favorite people to talk to are people that are already posting stories, right? Because it's like they're already using social media to be social. Right. They're already like content creators, like that's somebody I want to connect with. And you don't know what the future holds. You don't know, you know, what that person, even if they're not looking for something right now, they're not interested in your product, not interested in your opportunity, but you planted that seed. I mean, think about this. How many of you follow an account and the person that runs that account sends you a message? Probably not often. So just doing that, already you'll stand out to that person. I'm like, damn, like that's pretty cool that you actually reach out, especially as you build up a bigger following, right?
I think that's how we met.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Like you reach out like, hey, what's up? Like, thanks for following. You got a great page, or you know what? It was something like that. And now it's 3 years later. You know, we're here.
Yeah, be a human first. Like, be a friend first. Be a marketer second. We say it all the time. It's amazing how people appreciate that. So, what about live videos? Do you do live Instagram shows? Do you pop in there randomly? What's that look like for you?
That is something that I'm working on doing a lot more because I know that it's super important. If you go live, so especially if I have like a good post that I want a lot more people to see, and sometimes it's just like, you know, it's hidden a little bit in the algorithm. I will go live because then your little face bubble comes right to the front of everybody's stories and you're like right there. So then they're like, oh, Meghan, I forgot about her. Like, let me go check out what she's got going on in the last few weeks or the last couple of days or the last couple of months. And now they're back. And then I'm in their algorithm every day again. So just by going live, I know it's intimidating and scary and awkward sometimes, but the more you do it, the more comfortable you're going to get. And then it's just like you're talking to your mom on FaceTime. You know, you're just like, what's up, guys? Like, blah, blah, blah. The other day I did it in Mexico from the pool. I was just like, hey, like, check out this sweet villa that I'm in. And that was like, there was no point to it, but it was just to get them to go to my page to see my post.
Yeah. And again, you don't necessarily have to have like a planned training. It could just be random. Pop up, like you said, and just talk to the camera. Like, hey, what are you guys doing? Like, have a conversation. And people are going to pop in, pop off. But it's just, you know, that constant reminder, like, oh, Meghan, you know, oh, I clicked on her stories. Oh, now I'm seeing her reel. Oh, what is that product? Boom, boom, boom. So now I want to transition into, and how many of you are getting value from this? Smash the hard button. I know you got a lot of your teammates are on here too, giving you some love. And I would love to hear, what's your, because you said you enrolled 1,000 people, right? You said you enrolled 1,000 people in 3.5 years. So what's some of the stuff that you do like on the back end when someone's like, hey, what is it? Hey, I want more info. Like, hey, I'm interested in your product, your opportunity. What does that look like for you? What's your process there?
And this is like so strange. I was looking back at comments and messages from when I first started in 2020. And I use the same things, guys. Like, I keep it as simple as possible. I am not like smothering people with information. I don't want them to open up the chat and see like 45,000 messages from me. Like, I'm begging them to order from me. I keep it, you know, like, I'm not that desperate. I don't want to look desperate. And like you always say, like, I don't want to vomit this information all over them. I don't want to like,
no commission breath.
Yes. I was trying to think of like what you said. The less desperate that you look, if you're just like, hey, what's up? Like, thanks for commenting on my stuff. I want to just share this information. Are you down with that? Like, are you open to that? People are more likely to say like, yeah, I'll hear more, versus if you're like, hello, blah, 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 and then send this whole book and 45 videos and 30 things. And then you're like, so do you want to order it? Like, that's not the way I want to come off. It just looks ridiculous. If it was me, and I always think in messages, before I send the message out, like, is this a message that I would be okay with getting without it sounding like spammy or salesy or desperate?
Right.
So like, I want to be, again, a human first that's having normal conversations with people. And then I just keep them followed up. Like, the no means no now. It doesn't mean no forever. And, I keep them in my little notebooks. I keep them in spreadsheets, and I go back, a month or two later, 6 months later. Even if I don't mention like, hey, I'm following up because of this, I'm just back on their page commenting their stuff so that they come around and see my things again. And they're like, oh yeah, she's still doing this stuff. Maybe I'll be more interested now, or maybe I'll look into it now.
Isn't it amazing how many people, it's like weeks, sometimes months, multiple touch points.
Yeah.
But like some of the best people, it's going to be a little bit of a process, right?
Yeah.
And there are people that like, they see it, they comment, you respond to them, you share the information, and boom, they're buying. That is extremely rare. It's extremely rare. You have to know that most people have already tried other products. They've already been bombarded by other marketers. How are you going to stand out, right? And staying in touch and actually asking questions and listening to their answers and building that connection is how you stand out, right?
Yeah.
And it's amazing how much we overcomplicate it. People are always so selfish. They're like, how can I get the sale? How can I get them to buy? But you're asking the wrong question, right? It's like, I don't even want you to buy if the product isn't a good fit. Or, if they say, hey, it's too expensive, or, I'm not interested right now. Like you said, timing is everything. And if you stay in touch and you nurture those relationships, some of the best people that are within my organization today, they were not very interested when we first connected. They weren't looking for something when we first connected. Or like I had a guy, his name's Andrew. I don't know if Andrew will be watching this, but 7 years he followed me. And after 7 years, something happened in his life. Something was going on. And he decided to reach out, and we had a conversation. And now he did enroll shortly after that. Like, he was a quick sign up as far as like looking at the information and then joining. But it was 7 years before he actually had a need to do something, and he had that conversation with me. So you got to play the long game. You got to play the long game. And the reason Meghan's had success, outside of her being very authentic, very likable, personable, like she seems trustworthy, right? But she's also like consistently showing up, and people are like, if I'm ever going to buy, I'm going to buy from her.
Yeah.
If I ever decide to get started, I'm going to partner with her because I think she can help me. I can tell she cares, and I see her showing up. And this is the problem with a lot of people. They give it the old college try, and it's like 90 days later, they're either off to something else, or they quit, or they give up. And the people that they talk to in that first 90-day period are like, see, I knew it.
And people are like waiting for that to happen. They're like, I just want to see how long she's going to do this for. Or like, especially in like where I grew up, everybody around here is like who I went to high school and elementary school with. So like, and I've had people come and people go and do other companies, and we're all in the same town, so I can like see it still. And I'm like, you are like feeding into these wolves that were just waiting for you to just leave and go to do something else. Like, it's like, just stick with what you got and like take advantage of it. Like, company jumping, it looks so freaking tacky to me, honestly. It's just like, I mean, one thing if you change companies for legitimate reasons or whatever it is, but like if you're just like, well, I didn't make $1 million in my first 2 weeks, so I'm going to go to this next company and probably also not make $1 million in the next, 2 weeks, and they just keep going and going, like they think some magic like recipe is going to be at the next company, and it's just not. It's just like you have to actually put the time in and the work and be dedicated wherever you go, and you're going to be rewarded for it. Like this industry rewards you for your work. It's not like a 10-cent raise like when I was teaching. It didn't matter how awesome of a teacher I was. It didn't matter because my 10-cent raise was all I was going to get in this union. And
although they should have performance bonuses or some type of incentive. That's a whole other conversation. But yeah, they should have that versus like, oh, you've been here for 20 years. We're just going to pay you more than someone that's brand new. It's like, but that brand new person actually has like students that are getting straight A's for the first time. And this, but status quo, man, that's the status quo. But I love what you said there because, everywhere you go, there you are. Everywhere you go, there you are. Now, with that being said, my last company was shut down with the FTC. I had no choice but to go somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
I was with another company for 7 years and they just would not embrace social media. They kept changing the comp plan every 90 days.
Yeah.
And I was there for 7 years and I
Yeah.
decided to walk away. But in many cases, people give up before they really even get started. And you know what? Same thing with social media. How many people do you know? They're like, I'm going to do this live video challenge, John. I'm going to do reels every day. And it's like, they get like a weekend. They're like, dude, this sucks, man. I'm getting like nothing. I'm like, it's been 7 days. Like, you don't deserve it yet.
Yeah.
The key word is yet.
Yeah.
You're not good at reels yet. You're not good at stories yet. You're not good at selling or talking about products or TikTok or live videos yet. Like, here's the good news. Yeah, we've got trainings like this. Just follow Meghan and go, okay, you don't have to copy her. In fact, please don't copy her, but you can model what she's doing. You can model people that you resonate with, their style, the way they do their videos. Like if you see something that you're like, damn, that's good, put your own twist on it, model it, duplicate it. It's amazing how simple that can be. And actually, it's funny because how many of us get caught in scroll hole? Anybody get caught in the scroll hole? Like that can be your study time, your research time, but set a timer. How many of us know we need to do this? Set a timer for like 5 minutes or 15 minutes, whatever. And just scroll. I don't know if you do this, but I'll do this where I'll scroll and I'll save stuff I like. Now we have a virtual staff. So I'll like send it to my virtual team. I'm like, yo, I want to duplicate this, or I want to share this, I want to repost this, or I want to make my own version of this. But I think it's really important for us to not just like, if you're just scrolling and you're like just on there mindlessly, that's not smart. But if you can go on there and intentionally look at content that you're like, wow, I like how she did that, or I like what he did there. Like, let me do that, but put my own twist on it. That's how you start off. That's how you start building up kind of that like understanding of content creation.
It's really, really that simple of finding something that you think is working, seeing, wow, that post blew up. Like that's what people are interested in.
Right.
I'm going to kind of like make, like you said, do my own twist on it and redo it. And kind of like, and it's so simple. And something that really, really works on Instagram is if you make a reel and it's got a certain idea behind it or information behind it and it blows up, all you need to do to keep blowing up is remake that reel like 500 different ways, reword it, area, go somewhere else, like reuse the information that people wanted and just keep reposting it and keep making new reels based on those same ideas and the one that blew up, and people are still going to want to hear it. And you could redo it like 100 times and it'll still go viral, it'll still blow up because that's what people were looking for in the first place.
I hope y'all wrote that down. For those of you that stayed on till the end, that's a really good tip. It's like, if it works once, if that conversation was impactful, people responded well to it, keep doing it and just put a different twist on it, right? Different background, different outfit, different things going on. I got a question for you. You just made me think of something. Are you doing like reposting? Like, let's say something does really well. Are you posting that exact same video a month later or 6 months later or at all, or only redoing that same type of post, like a redo or a repost?
I have done both. I've done both. Okay. I have one that was like, it wasn't for work stuff. It was my home, like DIY things. The first time I posted it, I think it got like 30,000 views. And I was like, sweet, I'm going to repost that like 4 months later. Cause I just like needed to get some home stuff in my feed again. And then the time it got like 120,000 views. So like, you never know, just reposting the same video, just like down the road or a different season, or just taking the same video. Like you could use BRoll stuff or whatever that's called, where it's like you typing on your computer in the background and you just put words in front of it. You can use that.
BRoll. You mean BRoll?
BRoll. Yes.
Because I was like, BReal. Isn't that like? I'm like, my kids use that social media app. Yeah, BReal. But BRoll basically like, and that's like the new thing.
Yes.
You see these videos where it's just like, and when she says BRoll, just for those of you who don't know, there is this website called Google. You can Google it. But for those of you that don't know, it's basically like you're just randomly recording things. And later on, you can use that, throw some copy on it.
Yes.
That's it.
You could do use that same thing for 10 different reels with just different words on it. Like It's that simple, people. Like, it really is mind blowing.
How much time do you spend making a reel?
I try to spend less than 10 minutes making a reel because my attention span is like very, very short. My kids are very needy. I'm driving all over the dang state for sports. Like, I don't have time to spend like 12 hours on a reel. And I'm not that smart with technology to make these like crazy out of control reels. So mine are very
I'm
basic.
so glad you said that. I'm so glad, because there's so many people that are like, man, I spent like an hour and a half trying to update this or edit this reel, and I just finally updated it or uploaded it or whatever. And I'm like, dude, you know how many reels you could have made within that same time? Now, I know when you're first getting started, you don't know all the buttons and the features, but I think, I talked about the timer earlier. I think 15 minutes at the most. 15 minutes editing. And you know what? If it's not done, just upload it anyway. You'll be surprised because people will be like, hey, you got spelling mistakes on here, or hey, the volume's not working on it. But it's like, yeah, that still made it pop off, and you got a bunch of views and comments. People might be arguing in the comments. Fantastic.
Yeah, you're boosting my algorithm no matter what you do. So that whole, like, the whole post that blew up with mine, it was me painting my barn, and there was like 45,000 people that were commenting on it because I didn't put like the paint like rug thing down on the ground before I painted, because I was like, I don't care, I'm outside. But like, there was hundreds of comments of people just like critiquing what I was doing. And I'm like, I mean, if you've got the time to complain on my stuff, it boosts me either way. So like, let the haters hate, I guess, you know.
That's it. Do you ever try to like purposely do controversial content?
I do. I post a lot in stories of my views on certain things, I guess. And that's usually when I get my biggest engagement.
So true.
It is. And I like really love talking about that type of stuff. So, but I've done it less and less lately. But when I do, or I repost something that I, you know, goes with what I think, I get fire emojis, I get clap hands, I get American flags sent to me, you know, like all these different things. And so that really boosts my stories when I post, like repost certain things that I believe in. And the thing about that is, like, my dad owns his own business. He's always like, Megan, be careful what you post on social media, because you're in an industry where you want to relate to everybody. Right. I totally understand that. I get that all the time. But you know, my best and most consistent people that order from me, or that people that work with me, are the people that have the same values and beliefs as me. Because I promise you, if you don't have the same beliefs and values as me, we probably won't be working together for very long, because at some point or another, I'll probably say something that's going to bother you, or you're going to say something where I'm like, I can't. And
there's a way you can do it where, you know, like I shared something I think it was just yesterday or the day before, and I got a ton of responses from it. I'm getting negative feedback, but people are like, thank you for being so courageous. Thank you for sharing. And, you know, like it is a different time. It's a different time than like 4 years ago before COVID. I would probably say, you got to be careful. Like, you don't want to be too divisive and all that. And I still don't think you should be divisive. I think you should be respectful, but you're like, hey, respectfully, I disagree. My kids are not getting it's not right. And but then, hey, you know what? There might be people who have a different view, and you say, okay, that's cool. Like, I appreciate that. And I've had a couple of times where I posted something where I was like, I didn't think anybody would be offended by this. And some people were. And I said, I'm sorry you're upset.
Yeah.
I didn't say sorry for posting it and sharing my opinion on my social media. I'm sorry you were offended. But at the end of the day, it is interesting, especially in our space, if you will. There are a lot of people that have similar views, and sometimes it actually builds a deeper connection and relationship. Same with religion, right? Like, if you have certain religious views, I mean, as long as you're respectful and you're just saying, hey, here's what I believe, I think that actually builds a deeper connection with the people that follow you. And you might get some people that are like, ew, I don't like that. But you know what? Hey, look, you're never, if you try to be too vanilla and you come across as boring, or you're just afraid to put yourself out there. Like, I've got leaders within my organization. We have very different views on certain things. But we're very close, very good. I just think it's all about being respectful. And respectfully, we can disagree with people. We can have different opinions. And I think it's a really great idea to test it out in your stories, because it's only going to be up for 24 hours.
It's so entertaining. It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And you got to speak, you got to be yourself, right? Some of us, and
Yeah.
this is where it's like a little bit different than it used to be, where it's like, oh, don't talk about religion, don't talk about politics. I think this day and age, you can play with it. And I actually know some people in my space and on my team and in other companies, they've gone all in with certain
Yeah.
views, religious views, political views. And yeah, they probably turned away a lot of people, but they've also attracted a lot more people because they've been more outspoken.
Yeah.
So I think that's something to consider for some of you that are maybe, and you know what, it's not even about being controversial. It's just like testing out different conversations. And
Yeah.
sometimes based on feedback, based on responses, you'll be like, oh, dang, like this is something that triggers people, or this is something that triggered me, maybe, or maybe this isn't even triggering. Maybe it's just like, wow, that really inspired me, or
Mhm.
wow, this like maybe this conversation today, right? This conversation really helped you. And you're like, I want to turn around and share some of what I learned from Meghan, some of
Yeah.
what I got, some of my takeaways, and
Yeah.
I'm going to share it, not because I'm the expert, but because I'm going to start doing some of the stuff she's teaching. And
Yeah.
by you taking people on the journey with you, it's going to be more relatable. And how many other people out there are like, hey, I'd like to monetize my social media. I'd like to promote my stuff on social media. It's
Yeah.
amazing how when you take people on the journey with you, you kind of touched on this too in the very beginning, talking about your weight loss, right? Getting results. I had a conversation with somebody the other day. They're like, I don't know if people are going to want to buy weight loss products from me because I'm not really like where I want to be yet. And I go, I think, and I hope this doesn't offend anybody, but if it does, I'm sorry you're offended. So just be prepared. But this is what I told her, and I'm going to tell all of you. I think people are more open to buying weight loss, as an example, from a chubby person that just lost 20 pounds, 30 pounds, 40 pounds, but they're not done yet, than someone that's like ripped. Like
Yeah.
someone
Yeah.
you see ripped, and they might show you like, hey, I lost 100 pounds, but it was like 7 years ago. You're
Yeah.
kind of like, I mean, you might still buy from that person, of course, because they provide value. Again, it all starts with value. But somebody that just started on a program
Yeah.
and they're like 30 days in, 90
Yeah.
days in, and you're just sharing like, kind of maybe the roller coaster, what you're experiencing, some of what's been working for you. I'm telling you, man, people are going to relate to you more. Kind of
Yeah.
like this. I want you all to think about elementary school. Now, this is
Mhm.
funny, but I'm just giving you an analogy. How many of you have elementary school kids, right? Your first grader looks up to a third grader. They don't look up to a high school senior. That's
Yeah.
like, that's so far away from, they can't even relate to that. They look up
Mhm.
to that second and third grader, right? Same thing in
Yeah.
our business. You're 30 days ahead of someone, 90 days ahead of someone. They're going to look up to you or relate to you because you were where they were just recently.
Yeah. It is, even with like business posts and stuff with the income. It's like, if
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about making $10 million last year and you can't pay your water bill, you're like, that is so far out of reach for me. But if you say like, I made $300 and could pay my water bill this month, you just related to that person that couldn't pay their water bill. So like, think about that. Boom.
That's a mic drop right there. Got it. You know what? You know Bryn Lang. You love Bryn. I know you
I
guys
love
are.
Brit. I was just
Yeah, she's
texting
the
her a few
best.
minutes ago.
One of her best stories is like, she's like, I was skeptical of these things, wasn't interested, but then I saw someone post that they were able to buy socks without checking their bank account. And I
Yeah.
was like, I have to check my bank account for everything. And that's what got her. Not
Yeah.
making millions, not
Yeah.
making six figures. Most people can't even relate to 10,000 a month, 5,000 a month. Like that
Yeah.
sounds astronomical. But
Mhm.
saying, hey, already made my money back in my new business and I'm only 60 days in, you
Yeah.
might think, how many people say to me like, oh, I'm off to a slow start. I'm like, good. They're like, good. I'm like, yeah, that's relatable. Because
Yeah.
when you're on top and you're crushing it, you get to go back and go, yeah, I'm here
Yeah.
or I'm up here. But when I was down here, man, I was down there for a while. That's why I
Yeah.
always tell my story of how it took me 7 years to crack
Yeah.
full-time income, 16 years to become a millionaire. Thank God I didn't quit after year 6 or 14.
I always tell like people on my team, like, listen when John says that. Like you say it all
Yeah.
the time, and it's like it's hard because I blew up pretty quickly, like with this
Yeah.
business, and grew pretty quickly. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard to relate, or people don't know how to relate to me, I guess,
Yeah.
because they're like, oh, well, I've been here for so long, and I'm like, listen, like that wasn't the norm, and
Yep.
I have a lot of struggles too that I can relate to you about, but let's look at let's compare this story to yours, or like here's John. It took him 7 years to, and I'll bring up other people's stories that will relate to that, because I know that sometimes mine isn't 100% relatable all the time. It was,
right.
So I always just try to find somebody that they can relate to more, or that has the same kind of struggle. Like if I have a new single mom that's looking at the business, I'll introduce her to other single moms that are, thriving with this business and stuff. So you always want to just like find that relation, and how you can, build that trust by showing like, hey, I helped this single mom. Let me help you do the same type of thing.
Yeah. And continue talking about your problems even when you're on top.
Yeah.
Because it really is funny, man. Like someone hears you saying you're having trouble with your kids, or you're having trouble with like whatever, right? You got something going on that's like stressful or something. People are like, oh, so you're like human? Like you actually still have problems? Like, yeah, I know it's crazy. We still have problems. We still go through stuff. We still, it's so important to continue to show that transparent side of you. And be authentic, and you also got to be careful too. I like what Chalene Johnson says: speak from a scar and not an open wound. So like if you're like literally just filing for divorce, don't talk about that publicly. Like, kind of, that's number one, it's a little too soon, right? Maybe a little premature, but also maybe a little too sensitive right now. But let's say you're 6 months into it, and you and your spouse, your ex-spouse, are like, or maybe you're still married, but you're kind of going through it. But now you kind of have this like, understanding, like there's no emotion, like it's kind of like you've gotten through it a little bit, then you can start sharing that. Or, same thing with if you're dealing with, I don't want to get into too many like sad things, but if you're dealing with something really, really hard, you got to be careful, because you also don't want to put yourself out there where like, your woe is me. Like, let's say you have like a drug addiction, and you're like, oh, 2 days clean. It's like, yeah, it's only 2 days. Like, maybe get a little further into it before you start talking about all the like the bad stuff, because if you relapse, I mean, again, everything I think we can use common sense on, but I do think it's so important. Like I talk about how I quit drinking 15 years ago. And for some people, they're like, oh, whatever. I love, my couple glasses of wine here and there. But some people are like, wow, I didn't know that about you. Like I didn't know you got sober. And now they feel that different connection because they've had issues with drinking. You know how many times I've had people in my inbox that are like, hey, I want to quit drinking. Like, can you give me some advice? Now, am I an expert when it comes to that? I mean, I wouldn't say I'm an expert, but I can tell my story. I can say what I've done and how hard it was at first. So you all listen. I know sometimes we think our lives are boring, or you're like, gosh, I'm not as good at Meghan. Meghan's really good at communicating and explaining things. Like I'm not there. She had a teacher background, and she DIY expert, all this stuff. But again, she talked about something that she was passionate about. She showed up. She was consistent. This is what we call paying the price. Paying the price. So you're gonna have to pay the price, just like Meghan, just like I did. But one day, I'll be interviewing you. We'll be sharing your story. You'll be on a stage talking about how you did it. And I need you to think about that and have that vision for where you're going. Because one day when you're buying your dream home, one day when you're paying off your debt, one day when you get to travel like Meghan, or do some of the different things you see Nadia and I doing, get to have those experiences, you'll go, now I see why it was so hard, because it was worth it. It has to be worth it. Anything worth doing is hard. If it's easy, it's pleasy. All right, that's it. Any final thoughts, Meghan, before we wrap this up? I appreciate your time so much today.
I don't think so. I did want to open up. I am taking on 20 people to teach them how to help their Instagram, fix their Instagram, rehab their Instagram. So if you want, you can comment Instagram below, and I will shoot you a message with all the details. 20 people. I have 20 spots for that. So
love that.
That's one-on-one.
How does that work? Oh, it's one-on-one. Wow. Very
one-on-one Zoom training, 1 a week for 4 weeks, $49, guys. So we will just kind of look at your Instagram, see where we can tweak it, start at week 1. And then by week 4, you're kind of getting in the gist of like, what's working for you, what's not working for you. You're kind of like niched down a little bit. You're comfortable on stories. So we're going to be working on that. So just comment Instagram and I will shoot you a DM with the details on that. But
just so you know, it's on Facebook, right? So all these people are in the comments.
Okay, yes.
Got it.
So message me wherever. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook. Message me.
And it's $49, 4 weeks. One-on-one coaching?
Yeah, one-on-one
Wow.
coaching, Zoom a week for 4 weeks, $49. So 20 spots available for that. You can comment below and I will.
Y'all better hurry. Y'all better hurry because that's you're not gonna get me one-on-one for $49. That is ridiculous.
I know it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be great. And I want to help you guys. It's been 7.5 years of me trying to learn all the things and do all the things, and so I kind of just want to help other people. I think
I did get a question from Christine York. She said, "Do you need to be on your team?" No, you definitely don't, because we're not. Yeah, we're not even in the same company, so no, you definitely do not have to be on her team, Christine. So first 20 people, there's a lot more than 20 that are commenting, so awesome. It's going to be first come, first serve. But I love that. I think that's awesome. You're doing that, and this is what I love about this profession, right? We're the more people you help, the more success you have, and it's all about abundance. It's all about giving back. It's all about impact. So I think that's so cool you're doing that. So I appreciate it.
Awesome. I appreciate you so much. I mean, John just hooked me up with a coaching call with one of the top amazing people ever. So I've got that coming up. So it's all about networking. Like, that's what we do, guys. Talk to people. It doesn't matter if it's in your company or not in your company. I have learned so much from people in my company. I have learned so much from people not with my company. Like, it doesn't matter to me. We're all kind of like, I just love this industry so much because it's like not always like trying to cut each other's throats and stuff like that. Like, we do help each other out and we do support each other. And so I appreciate you you've given me advice when it was never going to benefit you ever before. So you know what I mean? It's just awesome. And I love learning from you, and I appreciate you having me on today.
Absolutely. You crushed it. You over-delivered. We'll definitely turn this into a podcast as well. And listen, if y'all loved it, make sure you smash the heart button. Let Meghan know what you appreciate her. What was your biggest takeaway? We always love hearing that. Love getting your feedback. And make sure you are subscribed. So when I go live, you get notified. There should be somewhere you can subscribe. I don't know. I think it still exists somewhere on Facebook. But if you want more training just like this, you can also go to mylifestyleacademy.com. mylifestyleacademy.com. We have all of our free resources, our blog, our podcast, all the things over there. But happy Money Monday, y'all. Let's go crush. And Meghan, again, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys later.